Hello everybody, my name's Isabella and welcome to my channel Between the Pages. Not drinking anything fun this time. I think I had iced coffee in the last video. I just got water. Anyways, so as y'all can tell by the title, this is not a book review. My next one will be a book review. But I'm gonna go over the different reading orders for the Chronicles of Narnia. The Chronicles of Narnia is not as confusing as some series. Some series, like the suggested reading order, is to read the first three and then the prequel and then the sixth and seventh one and then back to the fourth one, and it just gets confusing. So, Chronicles of Narnia is not like that. There's two reading orders, and then there's a third one that's not really a reading order. But I'm still gonna tell y'all about it because I saw a video of someone talking about it like yesterday or sometime this week or last week. So I'm still going to mention it even though I don't really consider it a reading order. Anyways, so there are two different ways to read it. The first one would be publication order, so the way that C.S. Lewis published them, the order that they were published. And then there's chronological order. So yeah. Oh, I don't think I said it in the beginning. It's The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. Probably should specify the author's name, because not everyone will have heard of The Chronicles of Narnia. So yeah, I'm going to tell y'all the reading order of The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. So, two main reading orders, publication order and chronological order. I'm going to give y'all the list of what order to read the books in both the orders, if that makes sense. This is my box set. It is a 1978 edition, I think. So one of the older ones. So yeah, I know the first book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, was published in 1950. I don't know when the last one was published. But yeah, this one is my box set. My mom bought them at a thrift store in Jackson, I believe. I was very young. I'll get into it later, but she was just kind of throwing books in the buggy that she thought I would like. And this was one of them, and I'm so thankful she did. I've been very blessed by this series. It is one of my favorite, I would say, top three books slash series. So, yeah, I'm rereading them now for the first time. I first read them in probably between second and probably fifth ish grade. I was very young when I read them, so yeah. I'm planning on them still staying the top three books or series after my reread, because I'm gonna be honest, don't remember a whole lot from them. Anyways, back to the actual point of the video. Publication and chronological order. Now, one very interesting thing about this box set is that they are actually ordered in publication order. Now, if you are to buy a newer box set, they are in chronological order, but mine is not like that. I'll get into that a little bit later. But just straight off the bat, in publication order, you would read them as the first one being The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the second one being Prince Caspian, the third one being The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. I believe that is how you say it. The fourth one being The Silver Chair, the fifth one being The Horse and His Boy, the sixth one being The Magician's Nephew, and the seventh one being The Last Battle. That's publication order. Now, for chronological order, is the order that you would read them. The first one would be The Magician's Nephew. The second one would be The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. The third one would be The Horse and His Boy. The fourth one would be Prince Caspian. Fifth one, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Sixth one, The Silver Chair. The seventh one, The Last Battle. So they're a little mixed up from each other. So yeah, that's the publication order, and then there's chronological order. I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all the secret third order. I saw a video of someone who had never read the series, but she said she heard that you could read them out of order and they would still make sense. in my opinion, that's not correct. Like, if you just give all the books to someone and you tell them, read them in whatever order you want to without telling them that there's a chronological order, it would not make sense, especially if they're very young. I'll talk about that once again later. Now, if you read them in whatever order you want to, knowing that there's a chronological order, I could see how it would still make sense as long as you know the order of the books. Once again, I'm making this video before I've read the whole series as an adult. Um, so now that I'm older, maybe it would make sense. But if you were to give the whole series to, like, say, a 10-year-old and tell them to read it in whatever order they want to, I don't think it would make sense to them. So that being said, we'll get into how I read it. And so I originally read them in publication order because my box set was in publication order. I was very young. I just assumed, hey, the box set's in publication order. That's the order you read them in, which is not wrong. The people who read them back in the 1950s read them in publication order. So, and they were made for children. In the, like, original edition of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which was the first one to be published, it does say a story for children or something along those lines. But anyways, yeah, I originally read them in publication order. I didn't know there was a different order. I didn't know that they were out of order chronologically. I will say I got very confused about The Horse and His Boy and The Silver Chair. Now, if you look back at the publication order, it is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Those are the first three books. Those first three books have these four siblings called, like, the Pevensies. Their last name is the Pevensies, or is Pevensie. So they are centered around the Pevensies. So it made sense. And if you read just Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, Voyage of the Dawn Treader, those three are in order chronologically, but there are more books in between them, if that makes any sense. So, in my mind, as a child, wish I remembered how old I was, but as a child, it made sense because Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the Pevensies go to Narnia. I'm going to try not to spoil a whole lot. And Prince Caspian, they're in Narnia. Voyage of the Dawn Treader, they're in Narnia. And through reading the book, you can tell Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is first chronologically, then it's Prince Caspian, then it's Voyage of the Dawn Treader. In the book, you can tell. So I was perfectly fine with those. Those made sense. Now, when it got to The Silver Chair and The Horse and His Boy, which are the next two publication order, I'm going to be honest, The Silver Chair, I remember very little. I remember, like, two scenes, and I'm very interested to see when I reread them, they might not even make sense in my mind because, or, like, the two scenes that I remember may not even be how the scenes actually played out. They seem very weird, like fever dream esque weird. And, like, I remember one scene at the very beginning, and then one scene like halfway to, like, last fourth of the way through the book. Um, and that's it. Like, I remember that last scene being towards the end of the book, and I remember the first scene I remember being towards the beginning of the book. But they were very weird. I'll probably go into that when I do the in-depth review of that book, what I remembered and whether it was right or not. The Horse and His Boy, don't remember a thing from reading it. Um, if you would have asked little older me, if there was a book called The Horse and His Boy, probably wouldn't have told you because I don't remember a thing from it, other than the fact that I learned not too long after that what that story was. All that I remember from it was not from reading it. I'll leave it at that for now. Magician's Nephew, I remembered the beginning scenes and then some of the last scenes. I remember it better, and in my mind, I remember thinking, oh, this is the prequel, this is the creation of Narnia. So that one made sense, and then The Last Battle is the last one publication, the last one published, and the last one chronologically. And in my mind, I knew that one is the last book. I could tell just from the way it was written, what was being said, it was the last book. So it made sense. But the fact that I read it publication order and then I got confused, really confused with The Silver Chair and The Horse and His Boy, I think a lot of it probably had to do with the fact that I was reading them out of order. So, there's that. I also talked to my best friend Cassidy about it, and she was also very young when she read the series. I don't know how old she was. I don't think we were friends when I read them. and we became friends when like almost 10 years ago. So I couldn't have been any older than 8. I'm gonna be honest, I can't off the top of my head remember the year that we became friends, but I know that I read them before we became friends, and we've been friends between 7 and 10 years. So let's just say, to be safe, I couldn't have been any older than 10 when I read them. But yeah, she said she read the series in publication order because she didn't know there was any other order. She got so confused that she didn't even finish the series. Now, that kind of says something about the confusion of reading them in publication order as a young child and not knowing that there is a chronological order and thinking that that is the chronological order. Now, this is where our stories become the same. I borrowed a set of like the dramatized audiobook from a lady at our church, Sister Lauren. Hope she doesn't mind me talking, saying her name. I'm not gonna say her last name. I borrowed the audiobooks from her. She had like a pack of the CDs, and I was still pretty young when I borrowed them, but like we talked about books a lot. Like she actually, another one of my favorite series, maybe not quite top 3, but close to it, is the Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. She recommended that to me, and I absolutely love them. We talked about books a lot when we were both younger. um she is older than me, but we were both younger and we talk about books a whole lot. And she's recommended me some pretty good books. But yeah, I borrowed the CDs from her. Those were in chronological order, and it was then that I kind of got to hear the whole story chronologically. And every memory that I have of The Horse and His Boy is from the CDs, not from reading the book. And if I'm remembering correctly, when I listened to the CDs, I don't even remember reading The Horse and His Boy. Like it was just like blank from my mind. So, anyways, there's that. I also asked another really good friend of mine, Grace Lee. I asked her if she were to recommend the series, if she would recommend them reading it in publication or chronological order, and she said chronological. So there's that. Now, there are obviously pros and cons to both. First being, if you are the type of person to read a series in publication order, go ahead. Just the fact that you know that there's a chronological order, you know what the chronological order is, would help you tremendously when reading the series. Like when I reread them again, because I will reread them again. Already, I'm almost done with The Magician's Nephew. Um, and I already know that I'm going to reread them again in the future. So, in the future, I'll probably read them in publication order because I normally do that, like with the Hunger Games. Another series that Sister Lauren recommended me, and it is my top 3, like top 3 books in series. Um, like amazing in my opinion. Love them. I read the original trilogy, and then when the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes come out, it's The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I need to start saying the author names too. When the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes came out, read the trilogy, then read that one when Sunrise on the Reaping came out earlier this year. I read the trilogy, then Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, then Sunrise on the Reaping. So I'm the type of person to read series in publication order, especially I feel like the series that can get kind of confusing. I would just rather read them in publication order because then I'm reading them the way that the fans that were reading them as they came out, that's how they read them, that's how I'll read them. However, chronological order does make a whole lot of sense. So, a whole lot more sense. So, if you're the type of person to read books publication order, go ahead. The fact that you know that there's a chronological order will help you a lot, and it'll help it to make sense. Um, so yeah. Now here's the thing. I asked ChatGPT because prior to starting the series, I was very torn about whether I should read them in publication or chronological order. So I asked ChatGPT what the preferred order is, and it did say most people prefer the publication order. Now this is a direct quote from ChatGPT. I did not double check any of what it told me. This is just I took what it said and then didn't double check. Probably should have, but this is a quote. It says, many fans and scholars recommend reading in publication order, especially for first-time readers, because it preserves the unfolding of mysteries and character development the way C.S. Lewis originally intended. Then I asked it, so did C.S. Lewis intend to publish out of order that way? That was a quote. That's what I said. And this is not a direct quote from ChatGPT, but it basically said that C.S. Lewis originally published The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe first to be a standalone, and then people enjoyed it so much that he decided to to complete this series, complete the story, and write 6 more books. And it said that he published them out of order, and reading them in publication order represents how he developed the world and unfolds the mystery of Narnia. It then said a young fan wrote C.S. Lewis. This was after the whole series was published, I believe. A young fan wrote Lewis suggesting the books be read in chronological order rather than publication, and this is supposedly direct quote from C.S. Lewis. ChatGPT said it was a direct quote. Didn't look into it, but he said, "I think I agree with your order for reading the books more than the one in which they were published." So what I take from that is that C.S. Lewis was not opposed and even preferred that his readers read the books in um chronological order rather than publication order. It's just that he wrote them and published them out of order because that's kind of the way that he come up with the story and developed the story. Um, like probably what happened is he wrote The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and then got an idea for Prince Caspian. Like I said, Pevensies are still in Prince Caspian. Um, he I don't want to give any spoilers for those of you who do not like spoilers at all whatsoever. But the Prince Caspian is next chronologically. There is just a book in between them. Um, but just in relation to Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and Prince Caspian is next chronologically. And then come up with another idea for the Dawn Treader. And then it was like, hey, maybe we should, tell a little bit about Narnia without the Pevensies. So then he went back and wrote the Silver Chair was not between Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I don't think. Even now, I'm getting confused. No, yeah. Then he went Silver Chair, and then the Horse and His Boy, which is actually before Silver Chair, not directly before, but it is before it. And then the Magician's Nephew was like, let's just do the prequel before everything, which Magician's Nephew, and then let's wrap it up with the last battle, the ending of everything. So I really just think that, once again, I did not look this up. This is just what I think based on his publication order, is that he just wrote The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Nice little story, nice little standalone. People liked it, and he's like, hey, I could do more with this world. I could do more with this story. And then just kind of, as ideas came, he just kind of wrote them and published them. So all of that being said, I was fully prepared to read this book, publication wise, even after hearing that Lewis said that it might be best to read them chronologically, because I read them in publication order originally. And now that I'm older, it wouldn't be confusing. But then I talked to Cassidy and Grace Lee, and then I thought more about what C.S. Lewis supposedly said, and I was like, okay, I'll read them in chronological order. I can probably get a lot more from it, and already I'm seeing that I am getting more from it just from reading them in chronological order. Now, all of that being said, although I definitely believe that the Chronicles of Narnia, they were written for children, but it is one of those series that anyone of any age can read, enjoy, and get something from. So and also you can be a reader of any genre. You could read only westerns, you could read only romances, you can read only whatever genre, and I still believe that um the Chronicles of Narnia is just one of those core classics that everybody needs to read. Everybody can gain something from it. So I'm not suggesting anyone do this. I'm suggesting that everybody read the Chronicles of Narnia, but if you really don't think you can get into it, just you could try reading The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It was meant to be a standalone. Just read that one, and if you like it and you decide you do want to read them in chronological order rather than publication order, go back, start with The Magician's Nephew, and then The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is the next one, so you can either reread it if you really want to, or just skip it because you've already read it and go on. Another thing is The Magician's Nephew. I understand if you're an adult and you can't really get into it because it seems so much like a kid's story. Maybe you should go and read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or at least just try to give the book a chance. I know some people, I'm guilty of this, are very quick to DNF a book if they're not getting into it within the first 50 pages. But this book, all that I want to say about this series before reviewing it is that C.S. Lewis was a Christian. Um, and that is reflected in, as far as I know, all of his books. And the Chronicles of Narnia is especially it is especially reflected in the Chronicles of Narnia, and that is one of the main reasons why I think that everyone of every age can read it, can enjoy it, because his the you can see I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. If you read the Bible, you know the Bible. Everyone should be reading their Bible every day. Um, but if you read the Bible and then you read the Chronicles of Narnia, there are some very obvious similarities. He took a lot of inspiration from the Bible and created Narnia. That's how I'm going to leave it at. That's why The Magician's Nephew, read it, give it a chance, read it all the way through. Even in The Magician's Nephew, if you're reading them in chronological order, read The Magician's Nephew, finish it, give it a chance, and even in that one, you can see similarities between the Bible and the Chronicles of Narnia. Same with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. If you decide to read them in publication order, if you just read that one all the way through, give it a chance, you can see similarities between the Bible and the Chronicles of Narnia. So that's why I don't know. I hope I adequately explained the. I didn't really straight up list out like these are the pros of this order, these are the cons of this order, but I hope through all of my talking and everything that I adequately expressed the pros and cons of each side, and maybe you have a little bit better of an idea of which way is best for you to read. So, like I said, I'm a big read it in publication order type of reader, but with this series, I really do see the benefit of reading this series in chronological order, and I would definitely recommend younger readers, or if you read with your children and you decide to read this series with your children, read it in publication order, because for young children it can be very confusing. Like this series, I is very fit for even like a 5 or 6 year old, even if they can't read the language yet, for a parent to sit down and read it with them. It was made for children. It's a good series. So, I would recommend chronological order if you're going to read them with your young children, or if you are going to recommend them for your young child if they are old enough to read the language, because it was written in 1950. The language is slightly different than modern books, but other than that, the story, the contents of the story are very fit for young children. Um, so yeah, I hope that's everything. I hope I adequately uh discuss the pros and cons of each reading order, and you have a better idea of which way you would prefer to read them. Um, so yeah, hope y'all have a wonderful day, and I will see y'all again in the next video. Bye.